Today, on The Report, we discuss U.S. veterans relying against Trump's federal cuts.
Stranded Starliner astronauts return to Earth after 9 months.
Ben & Jerry's CEO fired over political activism.
And a grandmother's solo international biking trip. The Report starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of The Report. I'm Alejandra Chavez.
I'm Juliana White.
I'm Ariana Hartman.
And I'm Allison Goyich. Don't forget to follow our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and view our latest content.
The 14 Now movement led nearly 3,000 veterans gather at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. to protest the Trump administration's federal budget cuts on veteran services. The date of the protest, March 14, was selected to symbolize Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. The bars individuals who have engaged in insurrection or aided enemies of the United States from holding public office. Organizers emphasize this connection as they criticize the administration policies that they believe undermines democratic principles.
Veterans expressed outrage over the firing of 2,500 employees from the Department of Veterans Affairs, with veterans compromising approximately 30% of the federal workforce. These staffing reductions have resulted in disruptions to their health care, including the inability to provide clinical treatments and the elimination of suicide prevention training programs due to the budget reductions. Organizations Free the People and Sons of Liberty stood in solidarity with veterans, condemning what they describe as an attempt to weaken democratic institutions through executive orders. The organization stressed that the protest does not reflect any political affiliation, noting that many veterans who voted for Trump in the last election now feel betrayed by his recent policies. As of now, the Trump administration has not issued any response on the protests. Okay, so how are we feeling about this story? What do you think about the 14th Now movement using the 14th Amendment as a symbol?
That's something that really strikes me as interesting because of the story because of the fact that the 14th Amendment was used to naturalize citizens into the United States as citizens and to free enslaved people. So I'm not sure how that really correlates with veteran status and how that's being correlated into this movement.
Yeah, and I find the movement really amusing since we're talking about veterans, about people that have give their lives. Some people have really give their lives spending time with their family for this country. So they deserve a good treatment back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just find it just baffling that they have to do this. I think it's a bipartisan issue in this country that veterans deserve help and that they don't need to do something as much as a movement or even a rebellion or anything like that against whatever administration's currently in office. So, I mean, I definitely sympathize with them, and I just hope that, they can hopefully get this figured out, or hopefully people in Congress will also aid in this as well. After an extended stay on the International Space Station, the crew of NASA's Boeing Starliner Calypso are finally returning home after a record 9 months stranded in space due to technical issues that plagued the flight capsule. On March 18th, SpaceX Crew 9, with their scheduled return to Earth, brought back astronauts Barry E. Wilmore and Sunita Williams from their test flight turned disaster of the Boeing Crew flight test, when 5 out of the capsule's 8 thrusters failed to operate properly on their initial approach to the ISS on June 5th of 2024. In assessing the safety of the Starliner's usage to carry its passengers back to Earth, NASA's Associate Administrator Ken Bowersox commented, quote, "We heard from a lot of folks that had concerns. We heard enough voices that the decision was not clear at the Program Control Board," end quote.
NASA's ultimate decision in mid-June resulted in Calypso's unmanned return to Earth, while Wilmore and Williams would remain aboard the ISS for a further 9 months until SpaceX's scheduled return flight in March after a successful splashdown off of the coast of Florida. Both astronauts were hospitalized due to the prolonged effects of weightlessness and are expected to make a full recovery. So that's a really interesting story that these two astronauts were stranded for so many months. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I've been seeing it all. It's a really, really big story all over social media right now, whether on like TikTok, X, or even Instagram. Lots of discussion, lots of people, taking sides based on like the current administration right now, making it political. But I've also been seeing, this is kind of another outlook that I wanted to kind of point out and emphasize, a lot of comments against Sunita Williams, especially her appearance when she came out from 9 months in space, and that's been causing the internet a lot of unrest as well. And there's honestly more focus on that compared to them actually being in space. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, or if you guys saw any of that online.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that, and it was honestly disappointing to see, because this happens to women a lot, where their appearances are commented on more than like her counterpart, who was a man, because you really don't see much discourse on that. What I also want to talk about, though, that I think is kind of insane for this story is that they aren't getting that much overtime pay, and they were in space for 9 months. They were only supposed to be there for 8 days originally. So I feel that they should be paid a lot more than what they're getting.
Yeah, so $5 incidental pay per day is not going to cut it in my book. That's not even enough for a coffee. So let's be real, $5 a day incidental is not enough.
Yeah, and I agreed with both statements being made by you guys. Like, why? This is a woman, that was just in space. That's something amazing. And why are we talking about how she looks? There's so much more behind that, and with the salary, like, these are astronauts, We're not talking about, like, all professions are equally as important, but astronauts is like somebody that comes out of the earth. Like, the level of their profession is just unspeakable, to be honest.
I know, it's definitely just, it's crazy to think about how they even seem mentally okay too. I mean, they were doing interviews like on the space station and letting people know that they were doing okay, and that's just impressive, because I mean, I would never even be an astronaut in the first place, but if I was, just knowing that 8 days from family and being not even on Earth is already difficult, but then going all the way to 9 months and not even knowing when you're even going to be back home. I can't even imagine the mental strain that had on both of them, but at least they kind of had each other in a way, in order to help them out and at least kind of grieve together in a sense. So it's good that none of them were alone on that space station. That would have been way more rough.
Yeah, definitely. 8 days to 9 months, that's a really big period difference. Ice cream company Ben and Jerry's are suing its parent company, Unilever, with accusations of violating their merger agreement for removing CEO David Stever without the board approval. Ben & Jerry's argues that Unilever's decision was influenced by Stever's public support of progressive causes and not this job performance. The lawsuit claims that the 2000 merger agreement projects Ben Jerry's by requiring board consent for any CEO removal. The complaint states, quote, Unilever's removal and replacement of Stever's did not follow the proper procedures, end quote.
In response, Unilever stated that decisions regarding the CEO are made after consultation with the independent board. The lawsuit heightened the ongoing tension between the two companies, with Ben & Jerry's accusing Unilever of censoring posts on racial and climate justice to public support for Palestinian refugees. Stever joined Ben & Jerry's in 1988 as a tour guide and became CEO in 2023. His current role remains unclear, along with Unilever facing leadership changes after its CEO recently stepped down. Ben & Jerry's is expected to deal with an imminent restructured business completed by the end of 2025.
Okay, I want to know you guys' thoughts in this situation. Since Ben & Jerry's has been such a political company since the beginning, they have supported Black Lives Matter, the LGBT movement, and many movements all over the country. So why is it different now? Like, we seen that is because of the situation with the Columbia student, that was the problematic they were talking about, and the CEO didn't like it, sadly. However, what do you guys think has changed?
I think just more so people paying attention. I think especially like in modern issues today, I think more people are on social media now more than ever. I personally didn't know Ben & Jerry's was so active on political issues until recently. So that was really surprising to me, and I only found that out through like social media and the news. So I think it's just more people just paying attention to issues that are going on, and then in turn, you know, people supporting those issues, but people who go against those issues and are more willing to be a little more active in pursuing that. So I honestly think that's why, you know, more people have access to the internet now more than ever in history. So this is where they're able to learn all this information.
And I imagine that with this merger, they agreed to Ben & Jerry's social responsibility and social justice initiatives when they merged. And so I'm really wondering if this goes against their agreement or if this is coming out of left field. Like, where is this coming from? Why are we doing this? Is this infringing on the company's rights to freedom of speech?
Yeah, the company has been active, like they've been activists for many years, so Unilever coming into this would have known that, and I think it is an infringement on his freedom of speech by firing him because of just being politically active.
I know, it definitely is interesting to just see if other companies, you know, who have kind of followed suit with Ben & Jerry's are maybe questioning that by now, or maybe even a little bit worried from other action from others. So, what began as a way to cope with depression turned into a remarkable journey across continents for 66-year-old Lee Dong-ju. After her marriage ended in 2005, Lee struggled with severe depression, even spending time in a psychiatric hospital. It wasn't until her son gifted her a mountain bike in 2013 that she found a new sense of purpose. What started as a hobby soon became a lifestyle. That same year, she took a leap of faith, saving money from her housekeeping job to join two experienced cyclists on a trip through Southeast Asia. Despite having only a basic mobile phone and a limited budget, she embarked on her first international adventure, traveling to Vietnam. Even after losing her travel companions, she relied on the help of a local Chinese-speaking cyclist to find her way home. Rather than being discouraged, Lee felt inspired to explore more. In 2015, she cycled over 20 cities in China, from Henan to Xinjiang, with her pet poodles as her loyal companion. 2 years later, she set off on a second journey throughout Southeast Asia. When her new travel partners decided to quit after 3 weeks, she continued on her own, biking through Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and Myanmar over 70 days.
Her confidence grew with each journey, and in spring of 2017, she expanded her travels to Europe. Over 66 days, she cycled through 6 countries, meeting locals, sharing stories, and navigating unfamiliar territory using translation apps. In France, she followed local grandmothers to find discounted baguettes. Later that year, she traveled to Australia, where kind strangers offered her food and water in the midst of a scorching day. Now, 3 years later, she has planned her next expedition, a cycling trip from Kazakhstan to the United Arab Emirates. With a goal of visiting 100 countries, she shows no sign of hitting the brakes. Lee said, quote, "Before cycling, I was heavily dependent on others and felt like a frog in a well. Now I'm a wild wolf, free, fearless, and independent," end quote. This story absolutely warms my heart.
I know, I love that quote from her at the end. That was just very wise of her, and I think it really goes to show that, like, no matter what age you are, I think especially in like our society and climate right now, a lot of people think, oh, once I hit a certain age, like, that's the end of anything I can do, but that's not the truth at all, and I think she's a really pressing example of that.
I love that she's traveling with her dog, like right beside her. You know, who can be a better partner? You know, having your dog with you.
Everyone has quit, and her dog's the only one who's stuck by her side, and that's awesome.
That's loyalty.
I find her inspiring, doing all these sports and workouts at that age. I find it amazing. She's definitely breaking stereotypes for older people, and I hope she keeps going. I hope she comes here to America.
Yeah,
she's so iconic.
No, I think it's great what she's doing, especially because a lot of people, as they get older, they feel like they can't travel as much because they're like, oh, I'm too old. I should have done this when I was younger. But, you know, if you're still active, if you can get out there, go travel. Go see the world, you know?
100%.
And with that, that's all we have for today.
Have a great week, Titans.
And stay tuned for more news, views, and info.
We'll see you next time on The Report.